Hey y'all, it's Ben with Whitetail Hollow Farms, and today we're going to try and get the baler moving. So this is our I want to say 86, I think is what it is. 1986 Vicon RP1210. This is a pretty basic, cheap little round baler. I got this baler for $300 at auction. I see them online go for sub $1,000 all the time. The 1510, which can do a foot larger bale than this one, sometimes goes for a little bit more. I've seen those ones go for around $1,500 to $2 grand. But these are really basic, cheap balers. They're quite a bit older, but they're relatively easy to work on. Most everything's universal on these things. You can find most of the parts at your local Tractor Supply, just universal chains, belts, etc. But real quick before we start, I just wanted to show y'all the setup for this gauge here. So I've gotten a lot of questions about this gauge right here. I've had people message me, I've had people comment on the videos. Real quick, I'll show y'all. This is the original old gauge that was in here. These gauges, from what I understand, tend to fill with hydraulic fluid, get cloudy, they turn into a mess. You can't see them, read them, they don't accurately read anymore, and they go right there in that slot. So took the old one out. So this is just a basic 0 to 3000 psi measurement gauge off of Amazon. This is I believe a 3/8 JIC to 3/8 MPT adapter going to a 3/8 hose, which on the 3/8 hose, it goes to a male on the end of the hose, to a female to female MPT 3/8, to a right angle 3/8 male to 3/8 female, and then I have an adapter that goes from 3/8 to, I can't remember if this is quarter, this might be quarter what the gauge is. But either way, that's my setup. That's how I've got it set up now since the old gauge is out of action. I'm gonna put links in the description to find all the parts you'll need to fix that. And if you have any questions about how to put those hoses together the correct order, or maybe you can find your own method, just comment down below and I'll see if I can help you figure it out. I had to do a couple other small repairs on this thing before I ran it. I replaced a couple of belts on the back, and I actually bought the wrong size belt, and I got a smaller one up here, but it worked. Just lose a little bit of hay every once in a while. These latches that are on the side, I was missing a couple of them, and I was actually using duct tape to hold this thing shut before. I found these handy little rubber straps online, and I just drilled them into the sheet metal, and now I've got little rubber clips that hold my doors shut, and they seem to work pretty good. I've opened up this bale chamber a couple of times and they seem to hold, so I got one on each door there. I wish I could put them on these doors here, but I don't really know as though there's a good spot because these back doors open up with the chamber, so I can't hook these doors to those ones. This is the other work that I did on this baler. This belt that was here was just trashed before. It was no good, and the idler pulley here was no good either, as well as this spring. So I actually got the belt from Napa in town. I was able to just go up there with the old one, show them the old one, and they ordered me a new one that was very similar to that one. So this new one worked. I got this idler pulley. There's a sleeve inside of there as well from Tractor Supply, as well as this spring from Tractor Supply. Tractor Supply sells all these chains and everything else. There's no specifics on these chains. They're just chains. So when you start digging into this baler and you see how it runs, how it works and everything, there's pretty much everything on it's universal. You can get most all these parts and keep these things running forever. From what I understand, the worst part about these balers is stuff like these bearings up here. When they go bad, these balers are pretty much toast because those are hard to find bearings. Here's another one down here. These bearings that run the belts, if they ever go bad, then you're kind of in a crappy spot to say the least. But yeah, apart from that, I haven't done a whole lot to this thing. We had some problems with the knife wanting to cut the twine before. I still can't find that knife up there to save my life. Dad was actually on the back of this thing, standing on it most of the time when we baled last fall. We only have baled with this machine once, and we I think made 4 or 5 rolls with it. We hadn't done any work to it prior, and we just hooked it up and ran it, and we found all the kinks, problems, issues with it, and I think I've solved most of them apart from that knife. And he says he knows where it is, but I can't see it very well. I'll let y'all take a look up there, see if you can see it. I do know for a fact that you lift this cover up here, and there's your twine. And from what he was telling me is that when you activate it over here, when you pull the lever, the twine is supposed to drop or something to that effect. And I guess this is the knife down in here. I don't know how to even get to it to sharpen it. He says that it should be really easy to, but I don't know. So as much as I would love to get down there, sharpen it, find out how to sharpen it, not going to, because I don't know where it is and how to get to it. So I'm just gonna cross my fingers and hope that the twine cuts like it's supposed to today. So otherwise, we're all hooked up, got my hydraulics hooked up, got my PTO shaft hooked up. We're ready to go. So we'll take this thing out to the field. We'll see if we can bale some stuff up. Looks like, as per usual, we got a couple of spectators here, but we are up here at the field. Got a couple of small little rows in here. Should make a round bale or two. And we got a couple other fields, so I'm hoping for maybe a couple round bales. In order to get started with this thing, we have to put down our pickup. So all I gotta do is, probably gonna have to set the camera down. Get this little chalk out here. Widen that. Now, we're ready to go. So our pickup's down. There's a little pickup wheel over there that ensures that we're not really driving directly on the ground. We should be good now. Just hop back in the tractor, start up the PTO, and we'll see what it does. One last step I forgot is you have to actually charge the bale chamber on this. So we'll let it up on the back, see it coming all the way up, and you put it back down, and my pressure gauge goes up to 1,000 psi. So that's one of the things I'm going to try and figure out here today, is what density or what pressure on that gauge I need before I can drop my bale and it be a full bale, because this isn't like the old gauge which showed you if you were ready to drop or not. This is just a regular pressure gauge that just shows different pressures. So I do know that 1,000 psi is what you charge the bale chamber to, but don't know what we need to drop the bale at. So we will turn our PTO on. All right, and the baler is running. So we will up that RPM up. All right, and the baler's running nice and good now. And we are baling hay. You want to try and evenly stuff the baler. So you kind of work back and forth, left to right. You can kind of see, or at least I can kind of see the bale being formed back there. But we are at the end of this road now. Set the camera down and focus a little bit more on this, make sure my bale comes out right, because this is not a one-handed operation and I'm kind of making it a one-handed. So I will see you guys when we dump the bale. I'm not gonna lie, I definitely just let anger get the best of me, but it was worth it. Finally got this thing out. So I spent about probably 45 minutes trying to get the baler to actually tie the twine around this thing, and it's tied double on this side, but that's okay, it's tied. Not bad looking stuff. We actually got a decent round bale out of this thing, so I'm happy. Finally. The tying mechanism in this thing is an absolute pain sometimes. I had to go back through the manual and do some reading and figure out why it wasn't tying right, and I did exactly what the manual said, and guess what? It worked. So now I know what I need to do next time it doesn't want to tie. I had the doors open on the side of this thing and everything. I was trying to figure out what was going on, why it was not wanting to work, but I finally got it. So it turns out that up here under the cover where I was talking about everything earlier, I had this whole thing set up wrong. But set up right now, and it should tie the next bale just fine. Hopefully. I mean, that's the idea. We'll see if it does or not. I had all my twine tied up wrong. I had the twine, instead of going this way and then back like it is right now, I had it wrapped around this other roller back here. I guess when it starts to do its cycle and this measuring wheel starts pushing everything over, because this comes over and it goes there and then back to where it is, and it ties both ends of the bale. I know I'm not good at explaining all this. I'm just trying the best I can. Either way, I had the twine wrapped around the wrong stuff under here, and now it's tied around the right stuff, so we'll see if it works. My only concern now is the next bale I go to do. I'm afraid that the twine might be tied up or stuck in the knife, so we'll see, but I think I know how to fix it if that's the case. But it looks like that's all we had out of this field was one round bale, unfortunately. We just didn't have a whole lot of wheat hay in here, unfortunately. But cows and the goats will enjoy this stuff. It looks really nice, so I'm happy with it. So I've got 2 other fields that look kind of like this that I'm gonna go and try and bale now. And hopefully I can show you guys some of that process this time. So we're in a new field now, starting on our 2nd roll of the day. Like I said earlier, it's just kind of a game of back and forth. You want to evenly pack that bale so that it's not lopsided when it comes out. So I think we got a full bale in there now, so I'll open up the window here. It might be hard to hear me. We should be able to just pull this rope here. Yep, and there it goes. It starts coming over, and it'll go all the way over and then all the way back. So this is it tying the twine as it goes around back and forth on the bale. Able to look down there. I'm not sure if you can tell, but you can see the bale getting tight around the bottom, and there's not as much wheat stuff floating around. That's where the twine is tying it up, making it tight. So it's reached the end. It's going to go back to its normal position, and it should cut the twine now. It'll stop right about here. There you go. So now the bale is all tied. I can actually see the twine around it. I'll shut the PTO off. And I'm gonna put the camera back there so y'all can watch the bale come out the back when I turn the PTO on and open up the gate. I'm very happy this one actually decided to tie the way it was supposed to. I was kind of worried it wasn't going to, but pulled the lever once and it worked. There you go, another bale. This one's not packed quite as tight as the last one was, and it's a little bit lopsided. You can tell there's a little bit more to the right than there is to the left, but it's not bad. I'm thoroughly impressed. I might have finally gotten that thing tuned in. Sometimes buying them cheap and fixing them up is the best way to do it. The best thing to do is just take care of your equipment in the first place and never let it get to look like this. But you know, I guess that's my problem, to fix up stuff that nobody else wants to take care of or fix. I just shut the camera off. Look at what I found when I was walking back here again to look at the bale. That came out of the baler. That must have been in the bale. Nice. Well, the dogs will like it. He would have been an 8-point. Well, maybe. Yeah, it looks like that was broken off there. He might have been an 8-point. Small 8-point, but an 8-point. Alright, y'all, it's getting kind of dark out, and we've kind of zoomed through time a little bit. So I got a bale behind me, and I got a bale right here in front of me. We ended up with 3 bales total, which I was really hoping for quite a few more. I was hoping for 6 or 8, but we got what we got. I'm lucky to have had anything because this is just winter wheat off of some food plot mix that we were hunting over this year. So wasn't even intended for hay in the first place, so happy to have anything out of it. I forgot to mention earlier though about that pressure gauge, that density gauge that I replaced. I said that I was going to tell y'all what I found as far as pressures to dump these bales at. I found that it was best to charge the chamber up to about 1,000 psi, which is what it almost instantly charges up to as soon as you close the gate, and dump the bales at about 800 or 900 psi. You could probably go up to 1,000, but I packed one full in there to where the baler was continuing to have trouble rolling the bale inside of the chamber, and that was at about 800 psi that I dropped that one. So probably 800 or 900 psi is what I'd say to drop the bales at. And one of the bales that I had in there, the pressure gauge didn't even show anything when I went to drop it, but it was a nice big bale. So it's kind of a hit or miss system. I honestly just went off of how much hay I was stuffing in the thing, if I thought it kind of ready to drop or not. So just kind of trust your heart there, but if you want to follow that gauge, I'd say it'd probably be safe to dump around 800 psi. I will include links in the description to everything to change out that gauge. Like I said earlier, if you got any questions about how to do it, just feel free to comment or reach out to us somehow. I'll be glad to try and help you the best I can. I'm no professional with hydraulics, but it seems like I've messed with quite a few hydraulic assemblies this year. I'm kind of figuring it all out. Well, here you go, guys. This is our final result, our 3 bales that we got today. You can definitely tell that this one on the left is the biggest of them all, and I think it's probably the best bale of them all. This is the one that I charged the chamber up to 800 psi before I dropped it. This one seems to definitely be the most heavily packed, best bale in the group here. I do want to put out there, this is a soft core baler, so the cores on the bales should be relatively soft. You should be able to get your finger in or your hands in there pretty easily, and they're gonna crumble as soon as you pull the twine off of these things. These are not hardcore balers, which they're traditional type that most farmers have, where when you pull the net wrap or the twine off, the bale stays intact. Unfortunately, this is not that fancy of a baler. When you pull the twine off of these, the bale is just gonna crumble. So be sure to get your bale to its final resting destination before you take the twine off. I know that's kind of a pain in the butt for people who put their stuff in hay rings and whatnot, because then you gotta dump it in there and then climb inside of the hay ring and get all that twine out, and it's kind of a pain. Just a little PSA, because I know a couple of people, including myself, didn't know until after I bought this thing that when you take the twine off, it's gonna crumble. So this is a soft core baler. But I hope everybody enjoyed watching today. Be sure to hit that like, subscribe, all that stuff, and check us out on Facebook. We're really active on there too. Mom does a lot on there. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you in the next one.